Okay, let me make sure everything is set here. First stream of the year, and I'm not even sure if I'm ready for it, but here we go anyway. So, that's turned off, that's turned off, that's turned on. I think we're good to go. Alright, let's get this started then. Hello! Shadowcat back, and today, normally this would be lecture day, but we're not doing a lecture today. No, today we're doing an extra special tabletop game. So, a little bit of foundation on this one, a little bit of background on this one. What happened was, over Christmas, and it's been a while, but over Christmas, had kids over, had all my nieces and nephews over, and I got them all toys for Christmas. And none of them were really extra special toys. There was nothing expensive, nothing fancy, nothing like that. But one of the things that I got them was Army Men. And when you think about Army Men, you just think about like the little plastic figures, and that's exactly it. And as it turns out, you know, popular in the past, still popular today. Kids loved them. They were playing with Army Men, they were having all, or you know, playing war games and stuff like that, and that was all kinds of great. So, they enjoyed that, and I was watching them. And I was just like, wouldn't this be great if instead of just, you know, relying on, you know, oh, my little Army Man got your Army Man, what if we had, like, rules for this? What if we had dice for this? What if we actually had an Army Man game? And not even necessarily one that requires these Army Men, but what if we could make like a universal Army Men game? And so that is what I intend to do today. While the kids are not here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make an Army Men game. So that the next time they're over, I can simply pull out a battle mat, give them a sheet of rules, give them some dice, and say, here you go. Go play a game. I think it's going to be really good. And so, to that end, much like any other tabletop game that we do, we're going to need a few things. We're of course going to need a spreadsheet so that we have somewhere to work. And then, normally, this is where we would need a browser. But today, we're not working on any kind of canon property. We don't need a wiki or anything like that. So, since we're doing this completely from scratch, we don't need a browser. And instead, we just need to have a map and some Army Men. Which is exactly what we've got now. Check that out. We have a map to work on. This is very special. I've never done anything like this before, so it's gonna be a test. It's gonna be a test. All right, so first things first. This is the map that I've got, and it's a very nice map. These maps are all dry erase maps. They're all double-sided. So this one is a beach with a jungle that you can't see because it's actually under my monitors. On the other side, it's some kind of stone. So, like boulders or something, I guess. Either way. And these maps are really cool. Because I got a whole bunch of them. I'm not going to pull them all out because they're actually kind of big. But I got a whole bunch of maps. And they're all rolled up in here. But since this is primarily a game for, you know, 8-year-olds, having a variety of maps is, you know, not bad. But yeah, there's lots of them. And I've got everything from, you know, the ocean, to jungles, to swamps, to mountains, to snow, to lava. Because if you're going to have an Army Man game, don't you want to do it in the middle of a volcano? So, we've got maps. I got these on Amazon. They were not expensive. If you're looking for some good maps to play on, just like good generic maps, I recommend them. Haven't even gotten the chance to really play with them yet, but I recommend them anyway. They seem good. And I see JP is in the chat. Hello, JP. Good to see you. Alright, so we've got our map. Now, we need some army men. And that is where the Christmas present comes in. Now, they got one. I didn't take theirs away from them, obviously. That would just be cruel. Instead, I went and got some more. Because it never hurts to have extras, right? And if you go on YouTube and you look up, like, discount tabletop gaming, there's actually a lot of videos you can find out there of how to play things like Dungeons and Dragons on a budget. Which is really, really super easy. Because you don't have to spend a lot of money to play these games. You just need to have a few basic necessities, like some kind of grid. And this is expensive for what you need. I can't reach it right now, but I do still have a roll of wrapping paper. If you're unfamiliar, most wrapping paper has grids on the back of them. And so if you go to the dollar store and you buy $1 roll of wrapping paper, it'll probably have the grid. The grid is usually in 1-inch squares. And you can use that for your maps too. Not related at all to today's stream, but just so you know, it's a cheap way to get maps. Anyway though, while I was there, I got the Christmas presents. And this is the Christmas present. This is a Soldier Force tank. And it's a tank soldier bucket. It was all of $10. And so, it's a fun little tank. I mean, this is not a toy review channel, but it's a fun little tank. It's got a moving turret. The barrel lifts up and down. Doesn't actually have any wheels, but that's okay. And it's full of army men. And so, through the magic of having more than one of them, we have one with all the packaging taken off of. It's got a door on the front of it. You open this up, and you can dump out your army men. And so, we've got army men. They're nothing too fancy. They're not painted. They're nothing. But they're here. They're army men. They're great. It came with army men. It came with a few terrain pieces. It came with a few vehicles. And we're going to get into all of that in just a moment. So, that's the bucket that it came with. And this is what we're working with today. And you'll have to forgive me. I picked up a virus over the holiday. Still getting over it. Feeling pretty good. Still getting over it, though. So, this is what we're going to be playing with today. This is everything that we're going to need to have rules for as we're doing this. And I see PC Unicorn in the chat. Good to see you here, too. I know, you never get to come to these tabletop streams. It's a special day for you. So, we've got some vehicles. We've got a jet. It's a nice looking jet as long as you don't look at the bottom of it. Oh, we looked at the bottom of it. Look at the top of it though. It's a pretty nice looking jet. We've got a helicopter with a gun on it. We've got a couple of tanks. We've got some terrain pieces, all of which, well, not all of which, but most of which has some kind of gun on them. So we'll have to write up rules for those too. Here we got sandbags with a gun on top of it. This is a broken wall with some kind of double autocannon on it. I don't know. I don't make up the... Well, okay, I do make up the rules, but I have no idea what that is. It looks like something that belongs on top of a tank, but I promise you, this is the only piece that it actually fits on. This one doesn't actually have anything on it. It's just a terrain piece. And then we have our soldiers. Now, there are 8 kinds of soldiers. Each army, both green and tan, gets 2 of each kind of soldier, so we just need these 8 soldiers to make rules for. And then we can get rid of the basket. Okay, so this is what we're working with. And is everything here easily visible? I think it is. Yes? No? It seems to be. Alright, so we look at our army men here that we have to make rules for. Let's take a look at what we got. So we have a rifleman with his rifle at a low ready. So I'm going to put him over here. I have a rifleman here at a high ready. I put him over there with that guy. This guy is shooting mortars, so he's going to need his own rules. We got a kneeling soldier pointing a weapon. We'll put him over here with the riflemen. This guy is crawling, but he's got a rifle. So I think he's going to end up being his own category. We've got a rifle guy here with a grenade. I'm going to put him with the rest of the riflemen, but he's going to need to have extra rules for him. We've got a guy with binoculars. He'll have to have some kind of support role. And we've got a bazooka guy. And he'll need to have his own unique rules. So, let's go ahead and start setting up our spreadsheet. And see what we can do here. So, when it comes to army men, we're going to need to have rules for riflemen. We're going to need to have rules for grenades. We're going to need to have rules for him. I guess we'll just call him prone. So we'll call him prone. We need to have rules for mortars. And we need to have rules for bazookas. Okay, so we'll work on each of those as we get to them. Then, of course, we have our vehicles and terrain. And Tux is in the chat. Hello, Tux. You just woke up? I woke up like 3 hours ago, so we're kind of on the same page. In terms of vehicles, we'll need rules for tanks. We need rules for helicopters and rules for jets. It's fine. And then we'll need rules for terrain. And that will include walls and turrets. So that's what we're going to need. And we're also going to need to know exactly what are we doing. So, in terms of playing the game, we're going to need to have a few very basic statistics. We're going to need to have things like hit points. We're going to need to have speed. We're going to need to have range. We're going to need to know when we have a hit and when we don't have a hit. So for army men, when it comes to things like hit points, I'm thinking that they only get 1 hit point each. Now, seeing as how the army men bucket comes with 16 soldiers on each side, having 1 hit point apiece, not really a problem. Especially if we go with having, say, a 50-50 chance of hitting. So, using dice, just standard 6-sided dice. If we roll, say, a 4 up, we get a hit. If we get a hit, the soldier's gone. So, I mean, he's alive, and he's dead. That's it. Again, it's a very simple game for an 8-year-old. So if they're hit, they're gone. When we get into vehicles, it'll be a bit more complicated, but for the time being, we're just looking at these guys. So why don't we start with our very basic riflemen and see how this turns out. Actually, no. Before we do that, I want to start with the prone. And the reason that I want to start with the prone is because he's going to give us a nice baseline. Because of all the army men here, he's going to be the slowest. So let's go ahead and start with the prone soldier. And if they don't know what prone is, they're going to learn. We're going to work on vocabulary too while we're at it. So prone soldier is not going to necessarily need HP because if he gets hit, he's just gone. But we can put it on there anyway just so we understand it. So hit points is going to be 1. Now, speed. Speed is also going to be 1. Because he's prone, and so he does occupy 2 squares, but when he moves, he just crawls up 1. And then he can crawl up 1 more, and he can crawl up 1 more, and that's going to be him. He just crawls up 1 square at a time. Now, because he is prone, however, that's going to also make him harder to hit. Now, as I already stated, I think that it should be pretty fair to have a simple coin toss. So when you're rolling the dice, you roll a 4 up, you hit your target. That should be our baseline. And by the way, that is the same baseline that we use in Dungeons and Dragons. It's why when you calculate your hit points, or your armor class, in Dungeons and Dragons, you start off with a 10. That means that your character, standing there naked, has a 50-50 shot at being hit. Then you get to add in their dexterity bonus, you get to add in their armor bonus, and then whatever enchantments or shields or whatever afterwards. Specifically speaking, in Dungeons and Dragons, if you wanted to, you can actually roll your armor class every single time. You can say that my character has an armor class of 18. Well, that simply means that your character has a +8 to their armor, which means that if you want to, you can roll the dice when it comes to your armor. And I will do that sometimes in duels, when there's only like 2 characters to take care of. So I will actually have my characters roll their active armor class to see if maybe they get hit by even a really sloppy swing, or sometimes they get to dodge even really a good one. These things happen. So when we look at to hit, we're going to start with a base of 50%. And how do I want to phrase this? I think that I'm going to go ahead and say to hit. And I'm going to say 5... And I don't actually know how to make an arrow, so I'm just going to say 5 up. I see that Blizz is in the chat. Hello, Blizz. Good to see you. And Unicorn says, though it might be too complicated for an 8-year-old, but what about 3 hit points for all? First hit, they are injured, speed drops by 1. Second hit, they are critically injured, speed 0, action 0. 3, obviously dead. Gives a place for a medic roll. That's not a bad idea, except for 2 problems. Number 1. It is a little bit complicated for an 8-year-old. Second problem, I don't have any medics. If I had medics, I might be a little bit more amenable to the idea, but I don't have any medics. I mean, I can remember when I was really young and I had some army men. I actually had 2. I had army men and I had astronauts. But I can remember having a lot of different army men, and I think that I had medics in when I had those. But this time, with these guys, no, I don't have any medics, so that's kind of out. And I even thought that I had some dice pre-prepared here. But now I don't remember where I put them. Oh well, we don't really need them here. Or I'll remember later, one or the other. Anyway, so to hit is going to be a 5 up. So that's going to be for him to be hit. So when we're rolling the dice, I actually really do want my dice. Where did I put the damn things? It's going to bother me all day. Where the hell did I put my dice? Don't you just hate it when you think you're prepared for like everything and then turns out you're prepared for nothing? You know, it doesn't matter. I had pulled out some green dice for my green army men and now I have no idea where they are. It's okay, though. I've got regular dice. So it should be really simple. We have one guy over here. And he's shooting at the guy who's laying prone. The first thing we do is determine who gets to go first. So he's got a 3. He's got a 4. He gets to go first. He gets to roll, and because this is just a simple rifleman, he's got a 4 up to hit. He rolled a 1. This guy over here, he's got a 5 up to hit. He missed. This guy gets to go again. That's a 1. He gets to go again. That's a 2. And so we're shooting back and forth. We can't hit anything. He's got a 1. He's got a 5, though. That guy's gone. And it should be very simple. Again, simplicity is the name of the game here. So whoever gets the roll first, and, you know, for that matter, it's not going to be a roll-off necessarily, but whoever's turn it is, they get to go first. If they get the hit, then that one's just gone. And we can do this in a variety of ways. We can do this where we trade off turns, and you get to move 1, I get to move 1, you move 1, I move 1. Or we can do this where I get to move all of my men and take all of my shots, and then you get to take all of your men, move all of your shots. It works in Warhammer. It would work just fine here. It's one of those rules that's very variable. You can do it whenever you want. So, a 5 up hit. I think that works out well. And then, range. Now, range is going to be a little bit a little bit tougher. So I have these maps, and because I have these maps, I have to kind of base my ranges off of what I have here. But this could be variable depending on where you're playing. If you want to use larger maps, you might want to increase the ranges. If you're playing on smaller maps, maybe you make them smaller ranges. But for right now, let's see, how many squares long is this map? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34. Well, that's just a bad number. I was really hoping for something more divisible by 4, but I guess not. 34 means halfway is 17. Half of 17 is going to be 8.5. So, what if we say that rifles can shoot 8? What if we say they can shoot 8? That means that if you've got a rifleman and he's standing way back over here, which is off the camera, I can't help that, but he's standing way back over there on the edge of the map, he can only shoot 8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? That means that if you want to use him, he is going to have to move up. And I think that's pretty good. That also means that when we bring in things like tanks, we can give tanks a range of, say, 17. Half of the map. So we can have the tanks moving up, and we're going to get into cover mechanics later. Cover mechanics will probably be the most complicated part of this entire thing, and it's simply going to give a second roll to hit. But we can have the tanks back here like this, while we have soldiers moving up in front of them. And the soldiers will be able to shoot, and the tank will be able to provide support fire from behind. Now, would I want to have a tank firing at me from behind? No, not really, but these are army men. They don't get an option in this. Then again, neither do soldiers, so that kind of works, actually. At any rate, I'm thinking that a range of 8 for rifles is probably going to be good. So let's go ahead and just put down here range 8. And that should be everything that we need for this little prone guy. So he only has the 1 hit point, and when he moves on his turn, he can move up 1, he can shoot 5, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or he can shoot 8, so he can shoot up to here, and he has a 5 up to hit him, so he is tougher to hit. Now, the only thing that I can see here that might be a bit of a problem is guys like this. So we have a kneeling guy here, and let's go ahead and maybe we should make a special stat for him. Should we? Maybe. Because we could differentiate between him and him. Because we have 4 riflemen. Well, technically he's a rifleman too, but ignoring him. We have 4 riflemen here, 3 of whom are standing, 1 is kneeling. Now, we could make an adjustment. What if we made this guy a 6? What if we simply make him a 6, so he's even harder to hit? Now, what if we said kneeling soldier. Okay? And we'll copy these. Now, of course, his hit point is still going to be a 1. What if instead, though, because he's only kneeling, what if we give him a speed of 2? And what if, for him, we give him a 5 up to hit? And a range of 8. So now, you can have these guys here. Okay? And so, when they're advancing, he moves up by 1. This guy, however, can go up by 2. Why? Because he's kneeling. And then the next turn, he gets to move up 1, and this guy can move forward 2 again. And so he gets to creep forward a little bit faster. Because he's kneeling, he's a little bit harder to hit than the regular soldiers. And then the regular soldiers will get to move a little bit faster. So let's go ahead and just call this guy actually Kneeling Rifleman. Because the mortar guy here is also kneeling, and the bazooka guy is also kneeling. So we may need to be a little bit more careful. And the bazooka guy, I'm not sure how mobile he's going to be either. We'll figure him out. So, what are we going to do next? Well, we're going to go with the regular riflemen. So these guys, these 3. JP says if anyone is 7 up, they get to summon Spot and Noid. I have no idea what that means. JP, do you smell toast? Okay? If you smell toast, you need to go see a doctor. Unless you're actually having toast. In which case, then it's probably okay. Alright, so next we're going to go with just regular riflemen. Hit points, of course, are going to be 1. Speed, however, is going to be 3. To hit is going to be 4 up, and the range will be 8. So that's going to be simple. That's super simple. So they all start together. He gets to move up 1. The kneeling guy gets to go up 2. And a standing rifleman gets to go 1, 2, 3. Simple. And that way they can move up further. And then if we wanted to make it a little bit more complicated, we could go ahead and add in some Dungeons and Dragons rules to this, where every armyman gets 2 actions. Okay? They can make a move action, and then they can take an attack. So if we wanted to, we could say that they can move up and then they can fire, or we can say if you wanted to, you could also do, say, sorry, a double move. So he goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Double move. And that helps to make the game move on just a little bit faster. So, that works. But we do have one guy who is a little bit different because he's got a grenade. Specifically, a stick grenade. When is the last time anybody used stick grenades? I thought the last time we saw stick grenades was World War One. I mean, are we really still making World War One soldiers? Because, that's not a World War One rifle. That's like a properly modern rifle. So I'm not sure what we're going to do with that. But we do need to have a rule in there for the grenade. So let's go ahead and add this onto the rifleman, and we're just going to say optional grenade, because it is optional. Now, if we're shooting 8, obviously we're not throwing 8. But we do need to be able to throw it a decent distance from us. So we're going to go ahead and say that we can throw this thing we're going to be able to throw this thing 4. Okay? We'll be able to throw the grenade 4. And that way, if our grenade guy... Where is he? Where's the grenade guy? There he is. If he's standing there, 1, 2, 3, 4, we can throw it this far. But it is a grenade. Oh, and JP says the stick hand grenade Type 24. I'm going to foolishly try this. The Steilhandgranat? Steilhandgranat? I don't know. I don't know German. Was the standard hand grenade of the German army at the beginning of the Second World War. I didn't know they were still using them in the Second World War, but that kind of makes sense. However, they were not using these rifles at the beginning of the Second World War. My argument still stands. That's like a Vietnam-era rifle. At the earliest. Anyway. So we have the grenade. And the grenade, of course, is going to be an area weapon. So when we do the grenade, and didn't actually think that I would need this, but there we are. Haven't even taken out of the plastic yet. Can I take it out of the plastic? There we go. Let's go get a knife out of it. Tuck says, maybe I could explain. Stick grenades look cooler. No, they don't. I like the pineapples. Alright, so we have a soldier there. He's got a grenade. He can throw it 4. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then because it is a grenade, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. And hits everything in this area. JP says, don't let the packaging beat you. Don't worry. If the packaging was going to beat me, I have other solutions. And so because it is a grenade, because it is an area effect, you could technically take out upwards of 9 people with it. And that's going to be really important because we're going to need that later. Now, does it erase? It does erase. Wonderful. We're testing things live. Okay, so the area on this, we're going to have to say it's going to be an area of 1, I think. Well, how do we want to describe it? Do we want to call it an area of 1 or 2? Technically speaking, an area of 1 could just as easily be the rifle, because it affects 1. However, when we talk about ranges, especially in terms of Dungeons and Dragons, when they talk about area, they automatically assume that it is more than just the center target. We are talking about a game for an 8-year-old, though. So, I have a better idea. We're not even going to do that. We're going to say area 3x3. There we go. It's a 3x3 area, so wherever you're throwing it, it is 3x3. That works. And that should take care of the grenade guy pretty easily. So what do we have next? We have riflemen, we have riflemen, we have the prone riflemen, we have the kneeling riflemen, we have the rifleman with the grenade. They're all done. So put them in the basket. Next, let's go for this guy, the bazooka guy. Put this right down here. So we're going to go with bazooka soldier. It just occurred to me, why the hell is it even called a bazooka? I have no idea. I always grew up hearing the word bazooka, but then when I got older, I was told that it's an RPG, a rocket-propelled grenade. I have no idea why it's called a bazooka. But you know what? Kids love the term bazooka, so we're going to stick with it. Alright, so, bazooka soldier. Wait, no, I don't want that. I want to paste. There we go. Bazooka soldier. Alright, he only has 1 hit point. Now, because he is kneeling, his speed is only going to be 2. Which means to hit him is going to be a 5 up. Not a 5%, a 5 up. Now, range. Range is going to be interesting because the primary usage of a bazooka is to go after vehicles and structures. So that's what we got to keep in mind, which means that he is not meant to go after this guy. He can, but he's not meant to. He's not meant to go after that. He's meant to go after that. Which means that if he is going to be shooting at this thing, then we might want to make them somewhat comparable. Since we already discussed that this entire map is 34 squares long, and we're going to be going, that way, we're going to want to make sure that these guys can engage with vehicles. And we only have green vehicles, so when we look at the army men here, what we're primarily looking at is green versus brown. Green has tanks and helicopters and jets. Brown is going to have structures. So what we're looking at here is primarily attackers versus defenders, and I've dropped it now. This is a professional stream here. But we're primarily looking at attackers versus defenders, which means that green guys would not be shooting at the tanks. However, brown guys, they have bazookas too, so this works both ways. Since we have to do that, I think what we're going to do with the range is we're going to make it 17. The reason being, they can engage the tanks at the same range that the tanks can engage them. That means that the tank is still going to start off, you know, back here off the camera. But he's going to have to truck his way up before he can fire. And even if I stick him back here on the edge of the map, if he can fire 17, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's not that far. I mean, in the grand scheme of things. If the brown team has all of their structures set up on the other end of the map, he's still going to have to truck his way up to be able to shoot at the other structures. Let's see. JP says the bazooka name came from a large tubular instrument of the same name used by the musician Bob Burns, called Bob Burns Bazooka. The nickname was given when the M1 bazooka was used by the US military. In World War II, the name stuck with it until the bazooka became a catch-all term for any rocket launcher. Okay, well, I mean, there we go. That's everything I needed. My curiosity has been sated. See, this is why I love doing these live streams. I learn things. Okay. So that's going to be the bazooka guy. But importantly, a tank is going to be a bit harder. And so maybe we have to look at the tanks next. Maybe we gotta look at the tanks next. So even though we still have soldiers to do, let's come over here and look at the tank. Because we're gonna need information on this one, so tank. We're gonna go ahead and do the same thing. Now, how are we going to handle the tank? Well, tanks have to be a little bit tougher than people, obviously. If the normal people have 1 hit point, keeping in mind this is a game for children, and children have short attention spans, we're going to have to go ahead and say it has 2 hit points. Maybe. No, let's go ahead and give it 3. We're going to give it 3 because, keep in mind, we still have a jet and a helicopter. And well, how do we want to handle this? Because the tank is going to have armor. Okay, it's going to have a special quality called armor, to which you're going to need armor penetration. Which means that when we give it armor, the bazooka soldier will be able to ignore the armor. However, the rifle soldier will not. And the way I think we're going to make this work is to simply give the tank armor, and to say that its armor will be 3. Okay? It'll have 3 armor. And that means that when you're playing, if you're shooting at it with a rifle, you'll have to make a pen check and try to roll over its armor. So it'll have an armor of, say, 3, you'll have to roll 4 up. So basically a 50-50 chance. Unless, of course, you're using a bazooka, which we can give it AP 3, armor penetration 3, and it can completely ignore that. It's also going to have cover, so we'll have to look at that too. So it's going to have range, it's going to have armor, and cover. Speed, on the other hand, well, it is a tank. And so it's going to be faster than people, but tanks aren't the fastest thing out there. So if it's going to be faster than people, but we don't have to be the fastest thing on the map, why don't we go ahead and say that the tank will get speed 5 for now. Now, that sounds really good, but just wait. Now, tanks are also very big. So to hit a tank, it's going to be very simple. It's going to be... well, let's not get too crazy here. Let's go with... now, let's go ahead and get crazy. It's going to be a 2-up, okay? So you can still technically miss. Technically speaking. You have to roll a 1 to miss, but it's still a chance to miss. But unlike the prone soldier, it's where the prone soldier is only a chance to hit, it's the exact opposite. Range, however, 17, easily. Armor, as we just discussed, I think armor will be 3. And then we have cover. Now, cover is going to be a very interesting mechanic, and we're going to need it both for the tank, and we're going to need it for the terrain pieces. Because once we have the terrain pieces set up, and these just clip together, so we can clip those together and the terrain pieces can be set up like this. When we put somebody behind the terrain, we're going to give them cover. And this is going to be very interesting because there's even some terrain pieces that have holes in them. And if you've got a hole in it, if you got a hole in there, you can take your little prone guy and put him in cover too. Is that not beyond cool? So, we need cover mechanics, but obviously this kind of cover is going to be much more effective than this kind of cover. Also, JP says, big fat snowflakes just started here. It'll be at your house soon. Look, I don't even want to think about it. The last time I checked the weather, and you know what? We'll do it live. Okay? We're going to do it live. We're going to do it live. All right. Let's check the weather. It already says snow showers. I just looked out the window. I don't see any snow. Hourly. Well, I mean, that doesn't look good. It does say that it should be starting like right now. But yeah, overall, not a good look. No, that's not a good graph there. Okay. And JP says, cover mechanics. Step 1, get in bed. I agree. Especially when it's snowing outside. Okay. So we know that these are going to offer cover. And they're going to offer actually quite a bit of cover. Because when you hook all of these up, and this seems to be the best way to hook them up that I've seen. They don't stay very well if you just lay them out all straight. Although it is kind of possible. But if you lay them out all straight-ish, that is... if I can get them as straight as possible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13-ish? If I more center this, I can just say 12 soldiers that can get cover. Now, each side only comes with 16 soldiers. So, you could technically put the majority of your army behind here. Now, would you want to do that? No. But we'll get to that later. Still, we don't want the cover to be too overpowered, otherwise it's going to give too much of an advantage to the defenders. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say that the tank is going to give cover 2. Just 2. PC Unicorn says, should cover be based on line of sight for the level of this one? Wouldn't it make sense if they can get around the cover for it, it'd still be... or wait, hold on. Stupid heart is in the way. Wouldn't it make sense if they can get around the cover for it to still be covered? The answer to that is yes and no. The answer to the first question is, should cover be based on line of sight? The answer to that is yes, it should. And theoretically speaking, what you should be able to do is to determine cover by looking at it. And so you can say, you know, if you have one person standing behind this part of the wall, maybe they have near total cover. Maybe you can see part of them through the hole, maybe you can see part of them over this part of the wall, but you could determine what their cover is by just looking at it. And if we were playing something like Warhammer 40k, that is exactly how this would work. You would actually get down at table height, look from your army to their army, and determine what the cover is, based on usually how many models you can see. So if you've got a squad of Imperial Guard, okay? You've got a squad of like 10 Imperial Guardsmen, and you're going up against a squad of 6 Chaos Marines. And you're fighting in an urban environment and the Chaos Marines are inside of a building. What you would do is you would get down at the table, you know, eye level with the models, and you would look and see, I'm looking at the Chaos Space Marines, I can see 4 out of the 6. 2 of them are completely gone, and thus you would use that to determine what kind of cover they have. That is way too complicated, though, for an 8-year-old's game. That being said, if you can get around the cover, should it be negated? And the answer to that is yes. So we may simply stipulate that cover only exists if there is cover between the characters. So if we set this up like this, okay? And I can't make my keyboard get out of the way any further than that. But if we set it up like this, and we have one rifleman there, we have one rifleman here, and we have one rifleman here. When this guy is attacking, he will have cover because there is cover between them. When this guy is attacking, he will not have cover because there is no cover between them. And in that way, we will establish line of sight, not in percentages, but in black and white. He either does or does not have cover. Now that is talking about this. We are talking about tanks. And so when we move this back here, we can have our people coming up, and the tanks can move up with them. And so we can have this guy back here behind the tank, and this guy back here behind the tank. And because they are behind the tank, they will get cover. In addition, however, we can also turn the tank sideways. And now it can't move forward anymore, but it can provide cover for 4 people. And still provide, covering fire. However, the cover that a tank is going to give is not going to be as useful as the cover that being dug in is going to give. And so the tanks will never be as good at defending as the defender's position is. It, of course, has the ability to be mobile, and so that's good. As well, there are 2 tanks. They have 4 guns. You can't see one because it's kind of cut off, but there's 4 guns there. And each one of these will give an additional attack as long as somebody is standing adjacent to it. Haven't got there yet, but we will. So tanks will give cover, which means that if these guys are all standing there, and this guy is going to shoot at them, if he wants to shoot at the tank, he has to shoot through armor. So shooting at the tank, he's going to first have to hit the tank. That's a 2-up. He's got it. And then if he wants to actually hurt the tank, he has to penetrate it, which he does. And the tank, which has 3 hit points, goes down to 2. Now, if he wants to shoot somebody behind it, though, let's say he wants to shoot that guy with the binoculars. Well, the first thing he's going to have to do is he's going to have to roll a 4-up to hit. He's got it. But because he's behind the tank, he gets a cover save. So that is going to be a 2 or a 3-up. He's got it. And he goes down. Again, we've got to keep it simple for an 8-year-old. But that should give us a pretty good tank there. Now that we've got a tank, we need to take care of the bazooka soldier. And the bazooka soldier is simply going to, I think, ignore armor. So if he shoots a person, great. If he shoots a vehicle, it should be essentially the same as if he was shooting a person. So the bazooka will just simply hit the vehicle, ignore the armor. If he hits, he damages it. Now, at the same time, a tank still has 3 hit points, and we are not going to use damage rolls. We're also not keeping track of ammunition, so if the bazooka guy hits the tank, then great, the tank goes down by 1 hit point. Since every army has duplicates, that means that the brown army will have 2 bazookas, which means that they pull out both of them at once, and they wait for the tank to get close enough, or they just advance far enough to shoot it, they could take 2 points off of the tank at once. And if they can get another rifleman up there, or hit it with the mortar, which we haven't gotten to yet, then they could potentially take out the tank on 1 turn. Speaking of mortars, though, now that we've got our armor system worked out and how the bazooka is going to work. Where's he at? There he is. And let's see. JP says, well, it's already turned into a whiteout. I need to run to the store real quick. Okay, it's already a whiteout. You have passed the point of going to the store. You should have done that yesterday. You knew it was coming. Okay? Everybody in the state knew it was coming. In fact, it was national news. I first heard about it listening to the national news. Everybody in the country knew this storm was coming. I went to the store yesterday. I got orange juice. Alright, so, next up, mortar. Mortar soldier. Okay. Of course, he only gets 1 hit point because he is kneeling. He only has 2 speed, which means that to hit, it's going to be a 5 up, not a 5%. It's going to be a 5 up. Range. Now, range is going to be interesting because I kind of want to give him more range, but at the same time, I'm also not sure how much range I want to give him, because I do want to also do something else. And that is that. Now, technically speaking, if you buy this set of maps that I did, and if anyone's interested, then I can share the link for them in the Discord later. But it does come with a bag of dice, and it's got all your usual dice. It's got D20, it's got D12, it's got both D10 and D percentage. I got a D8, a D6, and a D4. So, these dice can actually go with the army men, so we have something to use. But, a D8. Now, why do I want a D8? I want a D8 because mortars, at least by my experience, are not the most accurate things. The very fact that people manage to hit anything with them at all, as far as I'm concerned, is nothing short of miraculous. I'm actually kind of genuinely interested in learning how the military uses mortars, because by my experience, they shouldn't work. I don't think that mortars should work, but they do work, and we still use them today. But what I think that we're going to do is, I think if we give him, say, a range of 17, what we should do is we're going to determine a direction. And you can't see it, but every map actually does have a compass rose over here. Okay? I'm not messing with the camera, but trust me, there's a compass rose over here. And so what I think we're going to do is we're going to introduce something called drift. Oh, and let's see. What did I miss in the chat? Oh, Unicorn says the ultimate question is pulp or no pulp. That is a difficult question because the answer is yes. I personally prefer pulp in the orange juice. However, because I am limited to a Dollar General, I cannot get orange juice with pulp, so I have to deal without. Anyway, though, with the mortar, what I think we're going to do is the first thing we're gonna say, we're gonna go with area 7 or range 17. Then we're going to say it's going to have drift. Which means that it will never quite hit exactly what you're aiming for. So let's say that you are a mortar soldier. Let's get him on the camera. Okay, you're over here. And you want to fire. So we're going to go ahead and you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, so you're going to want to fire right here, okay? You want to fire right there. So that's where you're shooting for. Next, you roll a d8. And this is going to be really simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the number that you roll is going to be the direction that it drifts. So when we say that it drifts 1, that means that instead of landing here, it'll land in this direction. The real question is, how much drift do we want to give it? And this is where we could get into rules that are more complicated, because we could say that simply you're aiming for here, but it's going to drift over here. And that means that you want to hit all of these, but you're only going to hit 1, 2, 4, and your target. It does mean that you will hit your target every time if we only let it drift once. However, what we could do if we wanted to is we could say at the beginning of the game, what is the wind? And so if we roll a dice and we say, okay, wind 5. Now, instead of it simply landing there, we could say, okay, if the wind is 5 and it's drifting in the direction of 1, we could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is nearly off of the camera. But now, it's landing over here. That, however, may be a bit too complicated, and it may not go over as well. So we can keep that as an optional rule, and simply stick with it drifting 1. Now, does that make the mortar a little bit more complicated? Yes. Yes, it does. but is it something beyond the ability of an 8-year-old to use, especially if they have a sheet to reference? No, I think this is fine. So we're going to go ahead and just say drift 1. Let's see, Tux also says, what can role players never get? A date. That's funny. It's also sadly true. And let's see, Unicorn says an 8-year-old can, but if playing with somebody younger, they'll be limited by their age. So under 8 can't use a D8. It's a rule. Somewhere. I mean, I don't know that for a fact, but maybe. Alright. So we've got our prone soldier, kneeling rifleman, we got our riflemen, we got our bazookas. So let's just collect these up. Got bazooka, we got our riflemen with grenade. There's a rifleman, there's a rifleman. So we can put them aside for a minute. That means that the last one we've got is that guy. The guy with the binoculars. And Unicorn says, and now I suddenly get the joke. I'm dumb. Sometimes you have to actually hear it. That's the thing with some jokes. Sometimes you actually have to hear it to get it. Okay, this guy. So I'm just going to say the binoc soldier, because I don't want to write up binoculars. I'm going to go ahead and paste this in. Now, he's going to be a little bit different, because the binocular soldier, he only has 1 hit point. He is standing, so he's got speed 3. 2 hit, of course, because he is standing, is going to be a 4 up. However, range. He doesn't have a range. As a matter of fact, he's not offensive at all. He is going to be the only one with a special rule. And that is, once per turn, give advantage to adjacent soldier. Meaning that, and I mean this is obvious for pretty much anybody here, but if he's standing here and he's looking out there and he's got a bazooka guy right here, because I count corners. And he's got the mortar guy here. When the bazooka guy goes to shoot, and let's say he's shooting at a kneeling rifleman over here. Okay? So, he really wants to shoot that rifleman, okay? He's going to say, hey, spotter, spot me. And he gets to roll once. That's a 4. He gets to roll again. It's a 2. He missed both times. It's okay, though. At least he got 2 shots at it. And then the soldier gets to fire back. He missed 2. But that's what he's going to do. There's 2 binocular soldiers, which means that 2 people can get a bonus every turn, so long as they're, adjacent. And so that will help with hitting some of the harder to hit things. But he can only do it once per turn, so even though he is adjacent to both the bazooka guy and the mortar guy, only one of them can get the advantage per turn. And so that gives us all of our soldiers. Nope, I don't want to fill in. I want to put a box around it. And I'm going to go through and format a lot of this later. But there we go. That gives us our soldiers. Now, we're going to get into the vehicles. Now, we already did the tank, so the tank is done. Tank is good. And so the tank can truck along at 5 squares per turn, so we can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then it can shoot. And if it actually manages to hit something, then that's great. However, it can also use one of its movements to turn, which lets it be better cover, and it can still shoot, and it's good. So it can go 1, 2, 3, 4, and turn. And since it is a 4 by 2 tank, it can always pivot on its center. So, tanks is good. Now we get to move on to helicopter. Now, the helicopter, looking at it, this is not a passenger copter as far as I can tell. This is an attack helicopter. So, we do not have to worry, and I really thought about this. I thought about letting the helicopter carry people so that you could put people in it back here and then fly them over here. And I thought that'd be really cool. And then I thought, that's going to be really complicated. And now that I see it's an attack helicopter, don't have to worry about that at all. So we just need some information on it. What we do need is some stats. So we're going to go helicopter. Helicopter? I can spell, I promise. Alright, now, helicopters are not nearly as tough as tanks. However, they are still tougher than people. So hit points, it's going to get 2. It'll have 2 hit points. So, shoot it once, it's damaged. Shoot it twice, it's going down. Speed. Now, what helicopters lack in durability, they're going to make up for in speed. And so, while the tank can move 5, the helicopter, I think we're going to go ahead and let it go 6. Well, no, hold on. Because even at 6, remember, the entire map, edge to edge, is 34. Let's let it go 8. JP says, does flight equal attacks of opportunities from anti-aircraft and ground fire? No. I mean, it could, but we have to keep in mind this is for an 8-year-old. And I'm not sure if an 8-year-old is fully going to grasp or even pay attention to attacks of opportunity. I know adults who struggle with attacks of opportunity. Okay? So putting that on an 8-year-old, I'm not sure if that's really the best way to go. What I will say is this. It does fly, and so it'll be able to move 8. So we put it over here. The skids on it are going to be the base. And so these skids make it a 2x3 size token. And so we're just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? And so it can fly in. To hit on it, because it is a helicopter and it is up in the air, it's going to be a little bit harder to hit. However, it is also a big target, which makes it easier to hit. When I put both of those things together, I feel like they neutralize. Which means that when I think about the number to hit, I think for the helicopter, it's got to be a 4 up. That means that you have pretty much the same odds of hitting the helicopter as you do anything else. Now, range. When I look at this thing, and I look at the gun on it, I don't know how well you can see it, but I look at the gun on there, and that's just a gun. It looks like some kind of rotary gun. Not a cannon. Which means that I think I'm going to treat this thing the same way as I would treat a soldier. And I think that I'm going to give it a range of 8. Meaning that this thing can move 8, and it can shoot 8. So it's not that much different than the soldiers, except that it's got 2 hit points. And it moves a lot faster. Which sounds really kind of lame, honestly. But I guess having an extra hit point does make it a little bit better. We don't want to make it too overpowered. We don't want to make it too underpowered. We just want it to kind of be there. But it is a helicopter. So it's not technically here. Technically, it's here. And so, what happens when it gets shot? It's going to go down. Which means it crashes. And when it crashes, in typical Hollywood fashion, it's got to explode. And so when it explodes, it's going to do so, given that it is a 2x3 token, it will explode in a 4x5 area. So if this thing is shot down, it occupies that square. But if it is shot down, it will take out everything in that area. Don't be in it. Now, I could make this a little bit more complicated because I could also throw in random dice rolls to see what happens. In Warhammer, what happens when a vehicle is disabled is there is a chance for it to explode. And if I wanted to make this a little bit more complicated, we could easily integrate that chance into this. But I don't really want to. I want everything to be pretty well consistent. The more challenge, or the more chance I put into this, the more complicated it's going to be. So instead of leaving this to chance, if the helicopter goes down, the helicopter will explode and it will deal damage to everything around it. Just 1 damage. So if it falls on people, the people are gone. If it falls in a tank, maybe the tank is okay. Besides that, We have other things that we need to worry about. So that's the helicopter. Next up, we have the jet. Oh, and Tuck says, I know adults that struggle with basic math. I don't play D&D with them, but I guess kids have an excuse. Kids do have an excuse. That does not mean that we cannot, we cannot expect more from them. But it does mean that we do cut them some slack. Now, jets are going to be different. Because they have to be. Because jets can't stop moving. Unless it's a Harrier. And this is not a Harrier. So, the jet has to continuously move. And because jets are so incredibly fast, the jet, on its turn, is basically going to do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to snapshot this. And here's what we're going to do. The jet, similar to the helicopter, is going to have 2 hit points. The speed is going to be special. The to hit is going to be 6. Oh, Unicorn says they can stop moving forward in combat. Once. Reminds me of that old that old saying about ships and submarines. It's like everybody says that submarines are special because they can go underwater. It's like, no, what makes submarines special is the fact that they come back up. It's one of those things that once you hear it, you never forget it. Okay, the range is also going to be special. Now, here's how things are going to work. So for speed, speed is a countdown timer. Roll die and count down turns. On the jet's turn, place it on the map. Anywhere. Okay? So, that means that at the beginning of the game, you roll a dice, okay? And let's just say that we've got this prone soldier over here, and the standing soldier over here, and we've got a kneeling soldier over here, and a standing soldier over here. So, oh wait, I needed that dice. That's a 2. We're going to leave that there. And so, when we go through this, we're going to say, these guys have the first turn. And so, I'm going to have them both shoot at the kneeling guy. Do they hit him? Yes, they hit him. He's down. Okay? On this turn, this countdown timer goes to a 1. He gets to shoot back. He's down. Okay? His turn again. He's got to hit a 4 up. That's a 2. He misses. On their turn, because that now hits 0, the jet comes into play. And I can put him anywhere that I want. Doesn't matter. Because this is the snapshot of this turn. He is still technically in motion. But for this exact moment, it's right there. Now, because it is right there, this is where we're going to get into the range, because this is also going to be special. The range is going to be actually, I think I could put that up here. I think the range is going to be 17, okay? So you can put it up here if you want. You can keep it back here, but it's only going to go so far. The range is going to be 17. However, the area, it's going to have drift, okay? So it's going to have drift just like the mortar did. So when he attacks, we're going to put him right here, okay? And he's going to use bombs. So it's going to drift, and the area is going to be and rise over run. It's going to be 1 by... Well, the grenade is 9. So, yeah, we'll go 1 by 9. That means that as he's coming in, okay, somewhere in front of him, we're going to pick a spot. All right, I just rolled a 9. So we're going to go ahead and say we're going to back his engine right up there to that line. And we're going to start counting. So we're going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is where he's aiming. But then it's going to drift. Which way does it drift? 3. So 1, 2, 3. That's where it's going to land. And then it's a 1 by 9. So it's going to hit here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It will hit this entire area, which is similar to a grenade, just different shape. And so on its turn, it will drop a bomb, it will hit that area, and then it's going to stay there. Okay? Because then the enemy gets a chance to shoot back. And if it's close enough to them, or if they have somebody up there, they can shoot back at it. Now, because it is moving so fast, they only have a chance to hit it. So let's say they've got 6 soldiers underneath it. Can they shoot it down? There's 2 6s. That's 2 hits, and it's a jet. It doesn't have armor. So it takes 2 hits, and it's going down. This is going to be easily the most complicated one, because not only does it drop a bomb that has drift and everything inside of it, but it's also going to crash. So crash. So it's going to be crashes. And let's see. Since it is flying, if it crashes, it's still going forward. So when it crashes, it has to move, okay? And we can add this to the helicopter too. When it crashes, it has to move. The best dice that I have for this that is not higher than this, well, let's see, the speed is special, so yeah, let's go ahead and do this. We're going to move 1d 20 spaces and then explode. And let's see, how big is this thing? This is roughly 3 by 5. Yeah, it's roughly 3 by 5. So it's going to explode a 5 by 7 area. And up here, we're going to say move 1d8 spaces. There we go. So, if you've got a helicopter out here, and you've got the jet out here, and they both get shot down, the helicopter will move 1 space, and then explode. The jet would move 14, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And then it explodes too. Which means that if you shoot it down over here, it might just crash into you. However, assuming that it does not crash into you, it does not get shot down, let's say that you put it into play, you drop the bomb, they get to shoot back, they do not shoot it down. Now, you take it off, roll a dice, or roll a die, and that is your new countdown. So you put it off to the side, and you get to count down every turn until it comes back into play. And then you get to put it anywhere you want, and you get to drop a bomb. Importantly, though, and something that I forgot to add, something that the mortar soldier and the jet have in common. Ignore cover. I think. Well, no, okay. You're not going to ignore cover. If it lands outside of cover... No, yeah, it's... Do I need to put it in there? Okay, the mortar soldier is not going to ignore cover. The jet will, however. Okay? Because the mortar soldier is a single bomb. If it lands, if I've got cover out here, and the mortar lands here, that means that anybody standing, well, pretty much, if it lands there, this terrain is occupying that space, so it's not even really a matter of issue. So yeah, that doesn't matter. Alright, don't need to worry about that. Unicorn says, could have the helicopter not explode, but instead become wreckage that is cover, since technically the helicopter can land without power. Just might be an interesting mechanic. And it's not a bad idea. But if I also might argue, explosions. And I mean, come on, explosions. Again, this is a game for 8-year-olds. If things don't explode, then what's the point? I mean, otherwise, I do agree with you. There should technically be a roll to see whether or not the helicopter crashes. Like, especially because, helicopters can land without power. If the helicopter does get shot down, it should be a dice roll. And it should be the helicopter goes down and on a 1, it explodes. 5, it does not explode. However, again, this is for an 8-year-old, okay? I want you to picture, okay, if this helps you, I need you to picture that this is not written by Wizards of the Coast. I want you to picture that this is a tabletop game written by Michael Bay. Okay? This is Army Men tabletop game as written by Michael Bay. Does that help? And PC Unicorn says maybe you should do an advanced version of these mechanics and let it age. Absolutely, I can agree with that. We can have a more advanced version of the game. But for right now, we want to keep it simple. We want to keep it exciting. We want to keep it Army Men by Michael Bay. Okay? And it just occurred to me you can't see half of the jet. There we go. So yes, everything is going to explode. This tank, it explodes. This helicopter, it explodes. This jet, yeah, it explodes. Okay? This guy with the rifle, yeah, he explodes too. It's Army Men by Michael Bay. So, that's how that's going to work. The jet is easily going to be the most complicated one of there, but I still think that it's going to be okay, especially if I can just take this, print it off, and give it to a child. It has 2 hit points. The speed is on a countdown timer. You roll the die, you count down the number of turns. On the jet's turn, place it anywhere. And then it attacks as usual. I mean, I could probably format this better. There we go. Sorry. Let's see. If only I were good with animation, I'd totally make it short with that concept. I think I gotta go Tux for that one. Tux is the one with the artistic ability. I'm sure he could do something really special with it. Okay, so we've got all the Army Men done. We've got all the vehicles done. There's one thing left, though. And that is this. And so we have to write up rules for this. Now, the rules for this are going to be very simple. Because there's only so much that we can really do with this. And the rules for this are going to be... And yes, Tux, you have artistic ability. I've seen it. It's there. It just needs to be coaxed out. Alright, so we're going to call these the Ruins, I guess? I don't know, what do we want to call this? Ruins is probably not a good name for it, but I don't know what else to call it. Because they're not really ruins, but they kind of are ruins. PC Unicorn says, by definition, the guy that duct taped a banana to the wall has artistic ability too. I mean... Except Tuxedo's a good artist. I mean, technically the other guy was regarded as an artist. However, that's modern art, and modern art is not artistic. And I mean, that's the hill that I will not only die alone, or I will not only die on, I will not die alone on that hill. Modern art is not artistic. Let's see. I'm just going to call them Ruins for now. I'm going to call them Ruins. So the Ruins are going to be very simple. I am not going to give them hit points, because I do not want to keep track of hit points. I do not want a child to keep track of hit points. I think that giving hit points to these things is also going to just complicate things too much. So, no hit points. Instead, these are just going to be static objects. However, they will give the ability to shoot back. So, the Ruins are going to give cover 3. So, if you are standing behind this, okay, this guy is standing behind it, this guy is standing in front of it, and he wants to attack. He's first going to have to hit a 4, which he's got. But then, because he's standing behind cover, he'll have to hit another 4. He did not. So, he manages to get an accurate shot, however, the cover saves him. Next. We are going to give +1 attack if a soldier is adjacent to gun. And the range is just going to be 8. Because even though they look like big bad guns, they are just guns. And I'm not going to do anything special for those. But it does mean that you have an incentive to keep at least 4 men back here. So you can put one guy right here. And you can put one guy right here. And technically speaking, you could even take the binoculars guy and put him right there. And the binoculars guy will give you an additional attack just because he's standing next to the gun. And so that should give us everything we need for the Ruins. It gives us our cover that we need. It gives us the extra attack for the guns that are next to it. And so I think we're good. And with that being said, we've got our prone soldier, the kneeling rifleman, the regular rifleman, bazooka, mortar, the binoc soldier. We've got all of our vehicles done. We've got the Ruins done. Frankly, I think we're in position where we could actually make this into a game. We've got our maps. We've got our tokens. Let's see. did I drop? So there we go. We got a brown guy at low ready, a brown mortarman. We got a brown prone. We got a bazooka guy. We've already got low ready. Well, there's kneeling. Need him. We need the grenade guy. High ready. And binoculars. And so if we were going to do this, we'd simply move this back here. And because my keyboard is kind of in the way, we'll use that to our advantage. And I'll just point that way. We can have mortar guy back here. We can make sure to put one rifleman right there. We'll have our bazooka guy right here. And we can put the binoc guy right there so that he can give the bazooka guy a bonus, as well as operate this gun. The bazooka guy will get that gun. This rifle guy will go right there. So we have one rifleman for this gun, one rifleman for this gun. We'll have this guy out here. And this guy out here. And this guy will be out here too, because you got to get close if you want to use a grenade. And on the other side, we can have a tank there. With a binoc guy. And a bazooka. Again, if you want to use grenades, you're going to get close. We can have the helicopter up there. It does not offer cover. But we can put that guy over there, so he's shooting back. We'll have a mortar guy back here. At the back of the map, where he can do kind of the most good. He'll be in cover. He'll be in cover. And since we have two tanks, we'll have this one moving up this way as well. And we can have this guy kneeling between them. And just like that, we have a war game. All we need now is dice, and we're ready to play. We've got the rules, we've got everything we need. I think this works. I think the next time I have kids over here, we're going to have a ton of fun with this. But what do you think? Do you think this works? Is there anything else that you think you would change on it? I mean, I'm sure there's room to improve on it, but it's also for an 8-year-old, so they're not going to complain that much. Overall, I think this is good. I think it's something I can be proud of. I just got to go through now and format all of this to make it into a reference sheet that the children can read, which should not be that hard. Just got to make sure that everything is in nice, neat little blocks. I have to make sure that it fits on one sheet of paper, so I can just take one sheet of paper, give it to the kid. Because I don't want to give them like a book or anything. Just one sheet of paper. Here's everything that you need. I think this is going to be a ton of fun. So, I will let you know how this goes the next time I get the chance to try it. Not going to be anytime soon, I know that much. But I'll let you know what happens when it happens. And for that matter, since really these are just stand-ins for tokens, I mean, they're just models, This could also be played online on a place like Roll20. So, if you are interested in this game and you would like a copy of this game, let me know, and once I get everything formatted, I can just share it with you on the Discord. If you are interested in maybe playing this game, then join the Discord, and perhaps we can get a Roll20 game going where we can actually try and play it. I mean, it's simple. Should be simple to play it on Roll20 too. Either way. But I am going to wrap things up here. So if you want to see more things like this, then make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the bell icon. That way you get notified every time these videos come out, every time the streams go live. If you know somebody else who's also into tabletop gaming and you think they might enjoy this, share this video with them. Share this channel with them. I mean, every week we're doing this stuff. It's lots of fun. Most importantly, though, if you're liking this, leave a like on the video, on the stream. You can also leave comments down below. You can leave comments in the chat. More importantly, though, you can leave comments in the Discord. The Discord is open. It's free. Okay? So you can come pester all of us if you want. And if you would like to play this game with us, or any of the other tabletop games that we're trying to arrange, you're going to have to join the Discord. So do that, and we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the future D&D games that we get going, or at least, Pathfinder / Starfinder games with all the modules that we're building. Right now we're working on building up to a Star Trek game. Still, I need one more player for it. At least I need one more player who fits into the time slot that we have allotted. I got 3 players who are roughly in the same time slot. I need one more. So, if you're interested in joining the games, join the Discord, join us. I can promise you it'll be fun. Otherwise, though, if you're just interested in watching the streams, then I will see you I will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're picking up the Warhammer 40k stream again. So, if you want to see more of this, I will see you tomorrow. Otherwise, I guess I will see you next week, or whenever it happens to be. And until then, take care.